Okay.
Your percent.
Outside or carried here, thanks, or thank you.
For all that so choose, please stand and recite the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Call the meeting to order with everyone present, 4 in person, 1 online. First thing we have on the agenda is Jeffrey Peel, 360th Street, right-of-way discussion. Come on up and grab a chair. So what do we all have going on over there?
Trees and stuff and then put some rock in, and I didn't even think about it. We bought the place about 4 years ago, and that, you know, there was it kind of, I don't know if anybody's ever been out there, but it looks like a driveway, and I had a gentleman, I'm sorry, I'm horrible with names, but somebody had contacted me and said, hey, that's still a right of way, so we need to chat about it. So there's where we're at as of today.
Okay. And was that you, Jeff?
Yeah.
All right. You want to chirp in either which way too, because you're giving us some insight on what's going on there and how we can resolve what's going on.
Right, we're kind of in the middle of trying to figure out what we need to do going forward, because there wasn't a permit or anything for the work done. We had talked also about possibly vacating whole works down through there was another possibility.
Because there's what, 2 other landowners, there?
We don't.
Two
We
other.
do have some maps here, Nick does, and we kind of just took some pictures and what would be the best thing going forward.
Just so, if I may, just to clarify, when we say vacate, but since there are other landowners involved, that would need to still cross through there, we would have to, before the county vacate, make sure that they have easement agreements signed with you so they can still get to their property.
Yeah.
And that might be the easiest way, because then you can take care of it as your property as long as
That all depends upon if you get them to sign an easement, agreement. That would be the easiest and cleanest.
Yeah, that would be pretty simple. I'm not,
I mean,
thinking that anybody would find out on the other end where Mary is. I'm sure she'd like nobody else to ever go through there either, probably other than the landowner. So
yeah.
it would be a,
So I guess that would be our first option if you want to talk to the 2 I think there's one up the top, maybe, and one down. Stuff.
Event trust is the one that, so the second page of that document that I gave you shows hang up at the intersection, and the highlighted blue property line is Mr. Peel's location there. The stuff on the right then is a Bentley trust, and then Mary owns on the west. So yeah, there would need to be a private easement there. There also is the second page, or excuse me, the third page. There is a pond that was built there as a drawdown structure that the NRCS built, that we want to, but similar situation. I think as long as we have a easement in place to allow the NRCS to go in and take care of that pond, we can certainly do the vacation.
Whose property is that?
Well, I think it's what's, so Mary Fitch owns and probably 2/3 of the pond, and this, I apologize, this does not, I think the property owner all the way over by the highway is a different property owner. But yeah, let's even have that. I mean, Posted on.
Yeah, I think it's, let's see, so here's Locust, so there's the pond that they're talking about. I thought it was. Oh, yeah, sorry. I thought it was, oh, yeah, there is a little piece of it that's on the neighbor. I actually haven't met him. I know that he owns the piece out by the road, but,
So the three,
I know it's a farmer, so I can start.
three additional projects.
But no matter how that works with an easement or anything else, we'd like to see that changed on the beginning of the driveway up there.
Up on top, just for
Yeah.
access for Mary to get, if we get an easement there for that driveway.
It's kind of narrow, I think was the concern.
Yeah.
Just so that, since no one else is talking.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Ben.
If the landowners don't agree or Jeff can't work something out with them, then the other option is that the board's gonna ask to get that rock out of there, at least in the part that we need to plow, because it's higher than the level of road and the plow will catch the rock.
Rock is, yeah.
So if the county keeps it, that would be, have to be the next step. So that's why we're encouraging you to.
Sure, I'll talk to
Yeah.
him and we can, probably won't have to cross that bridge, but can, I guess, if it gets.
Because you've obviously incurred a lot of expense
Yeah.
in this
There's
process.
a little bit of rock in there.
Yeah.
One or two.
Yeah.
Yes. That would be the easiest, cleanest would be to. They would agree, sign an easement right away with them.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'll carry the torch on that one. What are we thinking from a time frame perspective is fair for you guys?
Well, I'd definitely like to see something done before winter.
Yeah.
I mean, we, like, nobody does plowing. You guys know that besides me, right? Like, nobody's been there in 3 years, so I understand. I'll work on it way before then, but just so,
Okay.
I haven't seen anybody down through there in a long, long time, so.
Can you keep us updated on what's going on?
Yeah, I think, I've got Mary's cell phone, so that one will be easy. I just need to do a little bit of, I need to do a little bit of digging on
The biggest thing I request to get down through there with that rock, it's so narrow there, if you got wider equipment, you're gonna hit that rock.
Yeah,
I don't want the guys.
yeah, the field access is up at the top. It was a ditch anyways, but Mary had actually asked me already if I could move that rock down, so they had easy field access, so we already started on that, but yeah, the same farmer that does hers does a bunch of our ground, so I got, at least on the farm side, the connections.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. The gates that were there.
Yeah, we kept those. We were actually talking about if we didn't do this, just finding, possibly a better place to move them, like down to where, it wouldn't be, at least because that garage that we have down there, we go back and forth from a bunch and I think it was supposed to be a lock on it, somebody said, but it was never, from the time we got there, it was never locked. So we kind of took it as, they just stayed open, but.
If we do the vacation, then we don't have to worry about the gates. Other than their county property.
Yeah, and like I told Jeff, we did keep them and, they're still. Yeah. Yeah, they're sitting in the barn, so I'll be glad to take them wherever you guys need them.
Yeah, and our end, that would be the best if you could talk to the landowners on just, it'd be like.
Getting the easement.
Yeah.
Yeah, the easement.
Make them landlocked.
Yeah, makes sense.
Shirley's got a question.
Go ahead, Shirley.
More of a statement. Mr. Peel, did it ever occur to you, you did need a permit to do this type of work on county land?
Should have. I'm not gonna make any excuses for that. That was, I just, when we started cleaning that up, it was such a mess. I should have thought about, the easement through there and should have got out in front of that one. It would have made it easier for everybody. So like I told Jeff, yeah, totally my screw up for sure.
You gotta move all that landscaping rock and equipment down on the county right away as well. If we don't do this easement, that all needs to be moved too. I drove that entire road and there's a lot of blockage down there. Thank you.
Great, if you want to order.
Say maybe should like something by the 1st of October, if he can get, you don't want to keep pushing it back too far, but snowstorms flying. Yeah, that's a month ahead. Give him a, that means
Maybe give them like a month to come back with an update to you
Yeah.
guys and let us know what the status is, so we
Yeah.
know if we're in the progress of
Maybe we
moving
should
towards vacation rather than having to get the rock out of there, then that we know that before.
Makes sense. Just contact Jeff directly. Is that the easiest way? Since I have his cell phone or
yeah,
is there somebody else?
That'd be fine. He can coordinate with me to get you on the agenda if we.
I'd say by the 18th or the 25th of September, maybe get a one way or the other, if it's gonna work, so we know what we get it cleaned up before addressed.
Or if you want to get put on the agenda for maybe October 14th, the middle of the month, then.
I think we want to get it sooner.
Oh, September.
Like 18th to the 25th, I would give them a month to kind of start the process and come in and let us know.
I would say the 18th of September would be.
I'll be gone
20.
most of September, but Mike, how often do you guys meet?
Every Monday.
Every Monday.
Oh, well, that'll be, so let me work on it a little quicker than that if possible.
Yeah, that was, yeah, sooner the better.
September, I'll be in every country except for in this one, so I'll, let me get to work on it a little quicker than that. if that
Okay.
works.
Okay,
And then I'll just ping you, and hopefully I'll have an update in a week, not in a month. Is that fair?
yeah, that
Sounds
sounds
good.
very good.
Apologize for those dates I was pulling out of.
2024. Oh, okay.
2024? Yeah. Kind of jumping the gun. Next on the agenda, Nick Rissman. And we have a few things there. Horn Hollow Road retracement. What are we?
So I think I talked with Mike, it would be a good idea to meet out there. Ben had sent out an email, discussing, the different options that we need to, do out there. You know, we can certainly do it with our staff, but it's completely up to you. That's how we've done it in the past.
I have no problem with that. Just let them take care of it and be done with it. That's.
I know there was conversation at one point about moving the grain bin, but I don't. Mike has it drawn up. Everything should be able to just be done that way out there. Get through the vacation process and make sure we have a turnaround location out there. And, but I think if we just meet out there, Jeff, myself and Mike and come up with a good turnaround location.
So that's the plan. Last time Mike was ready to do this, you know, had it set, and then all of a sudden the board had all these questions. So if you're ready to give it back to them, let them just figure it out.
Yeah, let them.
And then once they get that established, I mean, the point is that we can't vacate until we know exactly what we need, because otherwise we might give away something that we are needing for this turnaround. So once we get that figured out, then we can talk about whether you're gonna vacate or not.
Then Mike had some questions over the rest of the easement going back towards 52 and was going to do some research to try to find out about the issues that would surround the prescriptive easement aspect of it and the length of time that is of no use. Have you ever had that conversation with him?
Yeah, I think the vacation will just include everything. In case it was already vacated, some portions of it may have been vacated, but the plan is just to vacate everything just in case it wasn't done in the past.
And that's all the way back over to the old 52.
Correct.
And the entire stretch.
Yeah. Well, that'd be
Everything.
That's kind of that prescriptive easement, and if we haven't used it for how many years, that's something we can talk with Andy. There may be roads that in the future that we can just say they're gone.
They're gone.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I think with this one, since it's already before you, you should just do the vacation hydrant.
Yeah, we know.
Or at least start that process. I mean, it's not decided yet, that first chunk, because that's the one you have the competing requests
Yeah.
for. That you still have to have a public hearing before you can decide on that, but the rest of it, I think everyone's agreed. Just get rid of it.
Yeah, we haven't used it for 50+ years. You know, at least what we can tell is what Corbin and Lucy have said about their acquisition. If that will allow us to not, because we have no fee title to it. We only have easement. We'd sure be nice to know if that's going to extend a lot further in the county.
Right. I mean, because there's like 65% of them on that map of 1856 that still exist, like these kind of road, you know, they haven't been used in 2 years.
And it may depend on if it's prescriptive easement or we actually have documentation.
Yeah, or so it's easier, but. Yeah.
But we might be able to clean up low hanging fruit for the ones that are up. We can obviously vacate without having to go through the entire process, because otherwise Mike will be doing a tremendous amount of research trying to go back through all the records going back that far.
Okay, so they'll work on the road department, do the retracement, finish that up, and then in the next week or two, hopefully, we'll be able to go to the next step of setting a public hearing on the vacation. Is that right? Okay, I'll talk with you and Mike to make sure when we can get ready for that. Yep.
All right, the next thing on there is a Happy Hollow Road request for recreational crossing.
I can.
Well, based on what was explained to me on this request, I really don't think that we should allow that for a number of reasons. There needs to be, you need to have a licensed engineer design this. It's on county road right away. You know, and it doesn't meet a lot of the regulations. And if it's going to be open to the public for motorized vehicles, which a snowmobile is and the ATV, UTV is. So, you know, it is on a trout stream, which is going to draw a lot more attention from the DNR. There's different permitting issues, but it has not been sent in for a permit from the DNR. Based on the little information I have out there, I don't know that it's going to meet freeboard requirements that the DNR is going to have, and that's the distance between the bottom of the bridge and the high water elevation of a 100-year flood or a 50-year flood, depending on the situation. I don't think that a semi-trailer is going to withstand any flooding down there very well. It doesn't have the ability like our bridges do for the water to flow over the deck. And kind of relieve, you know, relieve the pressures on the bridge. So you're going to have 2 scenarios there. Don't have piling in the ground, or if you're not seated into the limestone down below, you're going to have uplift on that structure. You're going to have debris catching it. You know, how will it withstand a 30-inch log coming down the stream and hitting the side of the trailer? It's also not wide enough. Iowa code does require bridges on the road system to be 16 feet wide. The DOT actually requires them to be wider than that. So there's a lot of things going on down there, and probably most importantly, liability. I don't know that there's any liability coverage out there that will stop the county from getting brought into a lawsuit if there is ever an accident or a death out there. So unfortunately, I don't think that we would be smart to allow this. Unless you do have it started to be designed by an engineer and you need all the DNR. And the other one is the Army Corps of Engineers. You have to have a permit in order to put a structure like this in as well. There's backwater requirements, so you have to be able to calculate how much water is being backed up on the upstream landowner.
Is there a scenario that the county could vacate a portion of that road and they could work with the private landowners rather than us? So then they're.
Correct. Yes, thank you, Ben. There is, so on the south side, pretty much where we have that barricade, it can be vacated all. So that can be vacated to him, and he owns everything on both sides of the road all the way up to the next intersection. So I think that would be the smartest idea is to get that vacated, and allow them to work directly with them. You know, they technically still need to follow all the same DNR, Army Corps of Engineer guidelines, everything from that regard. But it alleviates any of the responsibility from the county and long-term, liability.
It's basically just taking it out of the county's hands.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's what I would recommend. We start the process of vacation on that.
So 16 feet is the minimum width on any kind of crossing of a stream. Because these
For a motorized vehicle, like there's a different standard for trail bridges, pedestrian and bicycle, but when you start getting into motorized, Iowa code says 16 feet. Yeah. Well, it says 16 feet on a secondary road. I would think that you need to kind of connect the dots and when you're talking about a secondary road with a motorized vehicle, the code of 16 feet width minimum. Again, the the DOT requires a 20-foot, notes on that. 22-foot from ASHTO, and they require 24-foot from design aids, but you can kind of choose on either one of them. So ultimately liability is the biggest thing. You know, I've had many, actually it was on the Winneshiek Howard County line on the very northwest corner of Winneshiek County. There was a bridge over the upper Iowa. It was closed in the late 90s, early 2000s. Unfortunately, there were young kids out there had parties on the bridge. I could see something like that happening down here in this location. I've had bridges that have been closed with barricades. People saw the barricades off so they can continue to drive across them. So even if this was barricaded properly, to only allow snowmobiles, I think you'd end up with a vehicle driving down in there and getting in trouble trying to cross this thing.
So historically, this was a party spot, but when they closed the bridge and took it out, it was less because there was only one way out.
Yeah.
It was called Happy Holiday for a reason. Went me 100 years ago. Being a designated trout stream, then that the DNR would have to give approval for any type of thing going over or through that.
Well, there's just different divisions within the DNR that have to look at that type of thing, yes. Yeah.
So from this, you have to get permits and do anything, cross it or build on it.
So from the board's perspective, for now, you and Mike can work on getting ready to vacate it so they can deal with the private landowners rather than the board. Is that what the board is directing him to do then? Is that?
Let's go and put a new bridge in.
I do know that the bridge, there's a design on the shelf in the office, but you're talking about $1,000, probably $200 to $250. I think that part of the designs that we've done, so.
Charlie, you have a question?
Yeah, I don't think we need a motion for this. We just need to direct Nick to work to start the vacation papers, correct?
I think so. But you won't take any official action until after a public hearing is held on the vacation.
Right. I would be in favor of asking them to get started on the vacation paperwork.
Mr. Chairman.
One way of getting rid of a liability issue, I don't see us putting a new bridge in.
Not for Happy Hollow.
No.
And I think it the intent was, always has been to not do it, because it's been, after 10 years, it falls off of eligibility for federal funding, and we'd have to reapply to even get funding to put a bridge there now, because it's been without a bridge for so long. So the previous boards had always intended to leave it as 2 dead ends, so this might just clean that up.
I think it'd be a good idea. Yeah. Or it
We have other
like
places
making a
where,
bridge ain't gonna happen.
so we might have north Happy Hollow Road and south Happy Hollow Road or whatever. We have other roads like that where a bridge is never replaced, so they just made them 2 separate ones.
If we vacate this, we're vacating all the way up to the north. We wouldn't be leaving any of this left unvacated.
Well, from the next intersection to Poland, it's still Happy Hollow Road.
Yeah,
Right.
but yeah,
It's
we
from the
going up
bridge.
to that next intersection. I don't want that cut across by the commons.
Yeah, so you would still have that little,
Little
like half a mile.
mile that
Yeah.
would be.
That down by the barricade.
Yeah, they keep from the
Maybe up
barricade
on
on the north side down to the bridge. Yeah,
And then get rid and vacate all the way to the barricade on the south end. That's about the end of Sexton's property down there, I'm pretty sure.
It would have to be from the end of Sexton's property north, and that'd be where you vacate, because you can't go past his property, otherwise you'd be dead, landlocking him.
There's several landowners there.
yeah, to go past that, there'll be 3 of us. Yeah, there's bullies on one side, lodge, and then it's.
But nothing in between, nothing on his, nothing in,
Yeah.
it would affect it,
It's
just because the one piece,
corner posts are back behind, barricades a little ways, that's where it. Good. From there.
Well, if everyone's good with it, then let's just move forward with the vacating it.
What is that? What is that?
there's,
You know what, that.
282nd.
282nd.
So you come around the corner, then it turns to Happy Hollow
For me
for,
to start up,
Yep.
Dave's on the bottom up to 282nd on the north. On the south would be starting at his property to 282nd on the north side.
Do you have any other road matters?
Shirley has a question.
Shirley?
Just to be clear to the snowmobiling group or to the private landowners, it still has to be cleared through DNR and Army Corps of Engineers to cross that stream with any structure of any kind.
What else do we have for road matters?
Bridge 26, which is the bridge on 295th west of Fort, was officially opened. I know it was opened up before, but they finally got the barricades down last week. Bridge 373 on North Fair Road was closed in the middle of last week, and I do have the truss removed, so I'm sure they'll be starting to form up the floor in the box culvert shortly.
That's approximately a 2-month project.
I haven't looked too much into it, but I would imagine it's something out there.
give or take weather, but
Sure.
as,
Just trying to give everybody.
as dry as it's been, they usually doesn't take them too long on them projects, so they move right along.
Additionally, unfortunately, this weekend, we did receive a resignation letter from Kurt Huber. So we would like to ask for a motion to accept his resignation.
That was our newest,
That's
Newest hire.
the newest hire. Ended up, has some health. Was working on his
I would.
cabin and fell, so. He's got a lot of irons in the fire at this moment, so.
Kurt Huber.
Yeah, he sent an email last, or actually early this morning, so.
So he fell over the weekend.
Actually it was last week at his residence. So
It
we,
wasn't
That's
work
not,
related,
that's
all.
not the number.
We don't want to
As
go
long as
there.
it wasn't work related.
no, not work related, no.
I motion to accept his resignation, Kurt Huber's resignation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept Kurt Huger's resignation. Is there any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Oh, yeah.
Now, this is another question. So on that, he started on August 1st. So I guess our question to you is, can we go back to the files here and hire the number 2 on that list?
There's been less than, is there,
I think you should talk to Andy, but I think he's gonna tell you gotta go through the whole process
process
again.
again?
You can't even say for sure that there isn't likely someone internal would have applied.
They didn't last time. So
Yeah,
that's,
you don't even know that for
Right.
sure, so I think you're gonna have to start over with the internal offer.
well, we'll get with them, I guess, and
Yeah.
find out for sure. If we have to do that route, I guess we will, but I was hoping we could avoid that, but if we can't, we can't.
Unless he says otherwise, I think
Right.
it's the safest route.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, we'll ask him his opinion and we'll go from there.
Cause when does the last,
Auction is, the deadline for that is tomorrow at 4:00. And that's for that truck driving job, because Shane had left auction and went to Ford. So right now we have one guy filled out internally for the auction position, so.
And
I
it
don't
could
foresee-
be, you can ask Andy, it could be that if that one needs to go to the public, that you can incorporate this new one and do one ad and accept application. You may want to ask Andy if there's a way to kind of save that
Okay,
time or that.
because
the
eventually
expense of doing it
we'll be
twice.
hiring two people.
people, yeah.
If that's the case, yeah, we could maybe wait
Or
until,
the fastest way you can do it to try to get.
The internal application you have now, is it a viable candidate for
Yeah.
that position?
yeah,
So
Yeah.
chances are that's the route.
yeah, he plows there in the wintertime now.
Okay.
And I don't foresee anybody switching or anybody else putting their name in the hat. I mean, that could happen, but
So, yeah, so if you have to offer the new one internally, that's gonna line up with this person here after he moves, because his position will be open internally, and he may be able to
yeah,
do them both at once, but
okay,
I just prefer if you talk with Andy.
yeah,
Andy on that.
yeah, we'll do that.
All right.
But that internal one can keep going on. till
Yes.
Yeah.
Nobody takes it,
Yeah.
so that might.
We're getting to the end though, I think, as far as the,
So,
yeah. So eventually we'll get there, just a little longer sometimes.
the music, the chairs, whatever, it can be done.
All right. Well, I don't have anything else for you guys.
No.
Does anyone else? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
We're a few minutes behind here, but next on the agenda is for 10 o'clock is a public hearing for the proposed plan specs, form of contract and estimates for the Festina Sewer Project, consideration of comments. Is there a motion to open the public
I
hearing?
move to open the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to open the public hearing. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are you voting aye on these, Shirley? Yeah, okay.
I thought I seen her, well, on the last one.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Motion carries unanimously. Is anyone with any public comments on the Festina Sewer Project? Anyone online with any comments on the Festina Sewer Project? Doesn't
I
matter.
move to close the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to close the public hearing for the Festina Sewer Project. Is there any further comments? If not, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Was right.
Oh, it is resolution.
Not yet, the public hearing.
Oh, yeah, public hearing.
That's resolution.
All right. Well, now we gotta wait a couple minutes. What do we have for consent agenda?
We have the minutes and the VA monthly report.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Do we have any committee reports? Pretty quiet this,
I have something.
okay, go ahead, Shirley.
So for those of you going down to ISAC this week, I did send a letter to Jamie Cashman, the liaison with the legislature. And I've written to both of our legislators about this too. If you're down there this week, please do talk to other supervisors, and especially if you can find Jamie, advocate for keeping public health, Northeast Iowa Community Action, Department of Human Services, all of this. We need our rural communities to be able to access these services one-on-one very easily, affordably, conveniently. What they are doing with trying to regionalize some of these programs is really going to hurt rural Iowa. So please do talk to Jamie while you're down there and to other supervisors to advocate for keeping all of these things local. We're not an urban center, we're rural, and we need to fight for our rural community on this one. Thanks.
I hope you sent that on your own behalf, Shirley, without contacting us.
I sent that on my own behalf, speaking for myself as a supervisor in Winneshiek County.
Not that we don't necessarily agree with you, but just want to make sure.
I can give you an update on the landscaping thing we were looking into for the courthouse. And I talked with Drew Stevenson, who's been consulting with the tree hall here, working with John on that. And he said he was not aware of a landscaping plan, but looking at that plan that I handed out that was done in the 30s to the American Legion, it looked like that probably was what these maple trees and things are. What is kind of out here was working off of that plan. So, and talking with Drew, he also was wondering about down at the Smith building, you know, there's a tree, that oak tree that's got a dying limb down there. That the tree can be saved. We'll take a treatment to do that. He's fairly confident, 90-some%, he said, that he can save that tree. So it'd be a lot cheaper than taking it down. I think there again, that building is just been put on the National Historic Registry. And so I think that probably we should look at a landscaping plan for that particular building too. And
I think John's been working with one tree down there, including that one tree limb, if I recall. Do you remember, Mark?
Yeah, we've been just having to take that limb out or whatever.
so his proposal would be to remove the limb and then treat the tree so it doesn't die. And I think the cost of that was he didn't have specifics when I ran into it. $400. It's not, it's not a tree that's near the building, and so it's not like it's gonna fall and take something out.
That $400 is for removing the limb or treating the tree?
Treating the tree.
And
I don't know about that. I'd have to, John's been working with and, but he said, if we're gonna do it, we should do it.
You mean John Halverson?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's who we're working with. He said if we're gonna do it, we should do it sooner than later, because obviously this year is pretty stressful on trees anyway. So it does have a disease. The particular disease that tree has is one treatment should potentially cure the problem with the tree. Where like there's another one like Tobacco, you have to every 2-3 years.
this is oak wilt.
This is oak wilt, I think, on this one. So I think since the building is on the historic register, those oak trees are part of the campus. It's probably several hundred years old. It probably will outlive all of us if we treat it. I think we should go ahead and have it looked at and dealt with.
Then this is all John's wheelhouse and everything that he does. I think we gotta, that's his department. I think we need to get his input, and if he wants to, if that's, we don't even know what he has in store. Maybe he's already started down that road. I haven't talked to him about that. I've talked to him about these up here. So I think we owe him the respect for what he does to get his input on it. Maybe put it on next week's agenda.
And after the last meeting, Mark and I kind of toured the courthouse here, and there are a couple trees that are probably past their prime and could go out. So it's something that, again, I think we should, talk to John about. And
I talked to John, and I think we are treating these two.
the two ash trees next to the sidewalk,
These are,
those we did not, no.
so, which is fine, but I think, before we replant over here, we should look at a plan. I have had probably half a dozen people interested in the project of looking at a plan and developing a plan, but I think we should put the Smith building on there too, because after last year's windstorm, it took a toll on the grounds down there. And we should have a plan for what it should look like going forward. So before we put together a committee or a group to get suggestions, I think.
I think it's
Let's have John come in next Monday, if that's what we're gonna do.
that'd be fine.
Yeah, I know he's talked about, just like treating what he's treating here and not treating those over there. He's got more of a he's got a long range plan of things that he's already working on. So we gotta find out what he's got.
But that's the tree health plan, but the landscaping plan would be a different thing too, part of it. But
Right, it still falls in his sphere of influence and maintenance and so forth about mowing and all the rest of that. So we've got to have, John has to be.
So in the upcoming weeks, I agree, we should have John in and take a look at that. I'd kind of like to keep on. Here.
thank you.
10 agenda item, resolution approving and confirming plans, specs, formal contract and estimates for the Festina Wastewater Treatment Facility.
Want to bring Tom up?
Well, this is, more of a formality, one of the steps we have to take, to get the project going. And I believe the bond council's put together a resolution for you. And basically what it does is that officially you folks are going to be approving the project, and then the next step, we get the contractor and off we go.
Would someone like to make a motion?
So moved.
I second.
We have a motion and second to approve the resolution approving and confirming the plan specs, formal contract estimates of the Festina Water Treatment Facility. It is a resolution, so Shirley?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
And I also. Resolution was a unanimous decision.
Did you want to announce who
What's next on the agenda?
That's
next?
Next,
consideration of bids.
Okay.
That's at 10:15.
Yeah, be a minute.
While we're waiting for that, do you guys have the bid results? If you don't, pass them. Okay, I brought some extras. Shirley, sorry you don't have one.
One in Shirley Fox, I have one.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you much.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's something.
That's it. It's pretty much see.
It was, well, the good thing, and I think Tom will point this out, we got two bids that are close and two bids that are close.
Yep,
All right, well, let's just go 10:15. We're gonna consider the bids for the Festina Water Treatment Facility.
all right. So we got 4 contractors bid on the project, 2 local guys, JB Holland and Blazic, and then Boomerang and Waukesha Construction. As Steve was saying, what I worry about sometimes is that when we have 4 bidders, there's one price that's
Yeah.
way out of line, right? On this particular case, we got 2 lower guys that are fairly close together. We got 2 higher guys that are fairly close together. And when I see this, I feel really good about it, especially when it's 2 local guys versus 2 folks that aren't local.
Yeah.
And so what I see in my mind is 2 folks really wanted the project, right? And there's always just one winner. And so we got JB Holland on it. And the other 2 folks, I've never worked with Boomerang before, but Waukesha had, I don't know, 6 projects with the last 30 years. And they are a larger scale wastewater. This would be a really small project. And I think that kind of comes into play when you look at pricing and some stuff. Again, Boomerang, I don't know much about them. I know they do this kind of work. I haven't personally worked with them. It's probably just their take on the project costs. But the local guys, obviously they have a little bit of a leg up because they understand local conditions. They want to work in the area. And the nice thing about having the local folks too is that, we have a regular project that just goes to the low bidder. They come in and do their work. As long as an acceptable is a range like this, right? We want over here, there's no money for contractors to be made over there. So they work way up here. And when it's a low bid situation with a public entity, it don't matter because if they're the low bid the next time, they got the project again. The local guys, the quality work is always different because they are local and they like to keep that local thing about them being high quality contractors. So this is a win-win for the area for sure because A, it's a low price. B, it's a local contractor. We're gonna get the quality and everything we want out of the project. Probably more towards the end we're expecting and not as close to the end where, a lot of other contracts start to make a lot of money, okay? So I feel really good about this. And I was telling Steve, he was at the opening, but for the last 20 some years of doing this, I've always opened up the high bid first. It always makes me worried, right? Because my estimate's here and the first bid opens up here, it's like, what I do wrong, right? So it leveled up in the end. So this one, JB Holland was at, I got my cheat sheet here, 751, 850. In the report put together, which was about 2 years ago, we were at 685. So that's actually not too bad for the stuff that's happened and not understanding, how, this lead time stuff, product availability is still out there, right? So I feel really good about the number. I have no problem moving ahead with JB Holland. But before we do anything else, let me just give you just a big global picture here. The last outstanding thing we're doing right now is working with the Lions. I'm getting power out there. We're about $6,300 to service that site, which is really good because the first price they gave me was 30-some-thousand. So, okay. Anyway, but we're going overhead. They got an overhead line right there. So we're gonna be able to service the site very economically from an electric power standpoint. And that's the only other outstanding cost that we don't know about. But like I said, it's about $6,300.
So Tom, JB Holland has finished up and recently completed the project down in Fort.
Yep.
What was your experience with them on that project? And that was a much larger project, dollar wise than this one.
It was, and I don't know that you were at the early council meetings, but our very first change order with JB Holland was a fairly substantial deduct on the project. And it wasn't something I'd asked for. When they got on the project, they offered up an opportunity for the city to get fill material at a lower price than what was bid, okay? So for them to come forward, they didn't have to, right? Yeah. But for them to come forward on their own and bring this up, I think in the end it was probably $250,000 savings. So it wasn't just $50, right? It was a pretty substantial savings that bottom line is they could pocket it, but they didn't. So, and at the end of the day too, I processed, it was a $750 change order for a couple items they didn't use and they returned. Again, they didn't have to do that either, but it did. So my experience in that project was great. Now I've got other experience, JB Holland, on some of these bigger ethanol plant projects, and they bang those projects out great. I've never had an issue working with them folks at all. So I feel really comfortable in this project. I've known the guy that's gonna be the lead guy in the project for many, many years, and he does a good job too, so.
All right, just for the general public's knowledge, the low bid is $751,850. And the high bid is $1,280,000.
Yeah.
So I'm just throwing it out there. I guess I definitely know which one I want to go with.
Is there a start and finish date with this bid?
We don't put start dates on, but we do have a finish date. I can't remember, it's December of next year. I think it's coincides with the CDBG grant award for the project. We have to have the project substantially complete by that time. And that's the contract time.
You would anticipate that this is probably a spring start.
Yeah, the major equipment has a 12-week lead time on it. So once we get the contracts approved and signed and everything, by the time you order it, it won't be fit to work out there. But they should have everything on site ready to go right away in spring. Nice thing about that site, if you've ever seen it out there, is that the creek is low and the place we're working is fairly high. So they shouldn't have to worry about spring conditions other than let's just get the frost out of the ground. You know, we shouldn't have to worry about the wet conditions or anything out there just because of the lay of the land. I think they'll be ready to go right away in spring. They'll have everything ordered up this fall and winter. I feel really good about the timeline getting done.
Do we need a motion to accept the low bid?
Yes.
I move that we accept the low bid from JB Holland for $751 and
Second,
$750
$850.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Resolution.
Shirley.
aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Steve.
Aye.
Aye. Also, motion carries unanimously.
Okay, I'll get the contracts rolling and we'll be out and running.
Thanks, Tom.
Anything else on there? for me?
Because we come in pretty close.
Well,
A couple years ago.
Yeah, like I said, it was 685 a couple years ago. And now it's
10% over for 2 years later. It's darn good.
Yep.
Like the work, it could be up to 8,900, I thought maybe at one time, maybe we didn't know.
Yeah, it's hard to tell, right? It's really hard to tell. All right, well, I'll get
And the board did promise them up to 300,000 for if it went over what their funding would provide. So this might end up being that some of that money can come back and go towards the 911 tower instead of.
Yeah, one thing that we don't know about, and we won't know until we're somewhere in construction, is since Festina qualified for that, it's called Winneshiek, that's because they're a disadvantaged community. In addition to that, the state revolving fund, which is the loan portion of the project, has a potential. When I say potential, that's what it is, it's 0 to something, to have some loan forgiveness associated with it as well. So how much, if any, of the county adder we need on the project, we probably won't actually know until we get maybe halfway in construction.
Yeah.
And the DNR comes back with any kind of proposed loan forgiveness. So there's still something out there that could help the project out. We just won't know about it until we're underway here.
That'd be the biggest.
It'd be great.
That'd be the.
Yep. Or ended up getting $1 million for their wastewater plant and then, I think 3 something for their water system. Yeah. Yeah.
Just
Makes a difference.
Ford's got a double hit.
Yeah. But they got some money on both ends, which is nice because without that program, would have been a lot.
Yeah,
Some of the pain. Yeah. Ford.
that's a lot of extra taxpayer dollars for the city on their rates on their sewer and water.
The way the CDBG program works is that they take that income information that was collected and figure out they have a formula that says this is how much these families can afford. And then they backwards calculate that basically, here's how much other money you can get so that that monthly rate turns out to be in this range that they've set up. So it'll be higher than what they've been paying for sure, their new rate. But they've been having it pretty easy for a while, and CDBG says it should be this amount, that's where they'll.
They probably won't be too far off.
No, I think because of the price we got and the grant monies that's already available is good. And if there's any additional grant monies in there from the loan forgiveness part of the program, I think they'll be sitting real well, you know. Definitely cheaper than putting in septic system. That cost you, if you have to write a check, $14,000. That's way cheaper than $55 a month for, sewer rate.
And you don't have enough lot size up there to do it.
No. So, all right, well, I'm gonna keep things rolling then. As this goes on, so I have to get in front of you guys once I get the contractor schedule. Our contract with you is through bidding and getting these contracts signed by the contractor. Once we understand their schedule, I'm gonna come to a board meeting. We're gonna talk a little bit about what you want for on-site services, and then I'll put together a contract for construction services for another board meeting, okay? So we'll figure out what works best for the group here.
So we'll probably have actually two more things. You'll have the contract with JP Holland that'll have to come here. For
Yep.
signature. Because all you did today was awarded.
Yep.
So once that contract is in a contract with SEH.
Yep.
For the rest of the construction.
Yep.
Work.
Exactly. So we'll keep things rolling and,
Is there any extra then also with Alliant to get paid for that?
yeah, once we figure out, so I'm still working with, Tina Smith, I think is her name. She's still working on the final numbers, and I think the way Alliant works is they'll come up with a service agreement or something like that, and that'll be presented to the county.
Okay,
So they will not go
actually,
ahead without that.
we actually have three.
You'll have that too to get.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
You'll
All right.
probably be seeing Tom more than you want to then over the next couple.
I
of
hope
months.
not. And throughout construction, I usually provide monthly updates. So I like to come to meetings at least once a month, provide updates to everybody, answer questions and stuff. So
All right,
I'll be here throughout the project.
thank you, Tom.
All right, we'll catch you guys next time.
Yep.
Thanks a lot. Bye, everybody.
Are those bids public? They are now that they've awarded it, right? So people could access those on your website?
Yeah, they're posted on, well, you guys can do whatever you want with them, but we post them on the bidding website. So all the other contractors that bid on it have access to the bid results. So
And I've already been contacted by a couple of
I'm sure you have, yeah. They want to,
national plan room type places where they like to post those things.
Yep. So, yeah, everything's public.
That's the way it works.
That's right. All right. Have a great day.
Thank you.
See you, everybody.
Next up, miscellaneous, we have a few things, maybe we get one in before we put Andy in here, health insurance fund discussion.
And Mark asked to have this on the agenda, and I contacted Brian, who wasn't available this week, but he'll try to get on next week or the week after to give more of the details. Basically, right now, we're still seeing a declining balance, but the good news, the long-term news is that we did budget extra this year that you'll be putting in more than supposedly we'll be taking out. So we should at some point see our balance start climbing again. We do have a little bit of an issue here in the transition where the records of the old, who's met their deductibles and how much everyone's paid in the old system haven't all got transferred to the records in the new system. And so there's a handful of people who are working directly with Lynn and Brian to get all that straightened out. And actually, we think there'll probably be some reimbursements to our fund from Wellmark, because Wellmark, they were supposed to be covering them, but the new Wellmark doesn't know that the old Wellmark, even though they're all both Wellmark, that they had met the deductible, and so they've been paying it again, and so we're gonna get that straightened out, but yeah, I think you'll see in another couple of months, we'll see moderate level off, and then hopefully by the end of the fiscal year, we'll actually see some growth again.
Yeah, because at the rate we're gonna go, we're gonna be down below 400,000.
Yeah.
At the end of the year, something was gonna change.
Anyways, from a million.
Yeah.
So yes, we did intentionally set that. Basically, we left how much the county's putting in the fund with a small growth, even though our monthly premium was a little bit less, so that that extra money could build that fund balance up.
What's our target number on that fund?
The worst case scenario, is if everybody maxes out their deductible. The last time I calculated that, and I haven't done it now for 6 months or more, but it was in the 800,000 or 900,000 range. That's where we had to pay for everybody. The insurance industry is gonna tell you they have some magic number, I don't know what it is, where you shoot for 35 or 40% of that worst case scenario is what to expect, and that's what they're gonna require you to always meet. We are getting close to that now, but I think
Yeah,
we will be
going, we would,
Yeah.
we'd be there.
So it isn't anywhere near desperate or dangerous like it has been in the past, but it is lower than what's comfortable. So I'm happy to report that we're addressing it, but it is going to take a few months. And Brian will come and give you a detailed update, especially on that transition thing that each day they're actually getting a few more of the things figured out. So.
Sounds good. We'll move right on down the line here to the 10:30. Andy Vandermotten, County Attorney, legal questions regarding agenda and other issues. Do you have anything for us this morning, Andy?
I don't. I was listening in on the engineer's reports and a couple things got taken off my plate, it sounds like. Or switched.
Yeah.
So I'll work with them on those 2 vacation projects, and I think we've got one, since Ren, and an easement and a vacation, kind of combining that, so, we'll follow up on that.
The one question I sent last week, and it's not a few weeks yet, it was, I think it's September 11th. The IT study people want to come back again. They did the IT study this spring, and they want to come back and talk to you about details, and some of those are security related things that they question whether they should be in an open meeting. So I don't know. I want to know what procedure to set up, whether it should be a closed meeting or just have it be that they meet with the security committee or what, so that we have it appropriately.
I'll take a look at that.
Okay.
Did Mike, Shimmick raised the question over the easements on this vacation stuff on the prescriptive easement that we've had over years and the length of time, can that be done? Is there any opinion on that? Does the AG have any statement?
We,
Do you have any, know where we are on that, Andy?
There are processes of, you vacate a road. There's also a situation where we have abandoned roads, through lack of use. I mean, basically, we haven't done anything with them for 50 years. They are abandoned, but they're still sitting in our system. So even though they're abandoned, the process of vacation might be helpful for cleaning it up. And as you were talking this morning, rather than have Mike go through and survey each of these off, and I can visit with him about it, but why not go back to that
1856 map there
and
is.
say, okay, the roads identified in the attached map as this segment, this segment, this segment are being vacated to the underlying property owner. And I think that would be doable. I need to take a look at the map, but, I don't think it makes sense for Mike to go out and survey each of these just because they're vacated. Because all of them have been abandoned. Just getting them out of our system and off our books and having, the other thing it does is property owner, their abstract will pick up the fact that it was vacated, so they sell it. It's not a question of, has this road been abandoned? Is there still a road there? It cleans up their type of work too. And if we can do it without investing a lot of Mike's time, I think we should do that.
Yeah.
We've done it for, some of the villages, Dunborough, when it was originally laid out, there were, subdivisions with roads laid through them. None of those roads ever got developed. So when we vacated, he essentially went in and said these streets in the subdivision are vacated, went to the adjoining property owners, did that there. I think we did it in Freeport, we did it in Frankville, we did some of that down by Fort Atkinson. It seems to me this is a similar process, just on a different scope, different.
A little larger scale, maybe.
Yeah, but if we have a map that can work on.
Sure.
We may not hit 100% of them, but we may be able to take 70-80% of them out.
The more of these that we don't have to come up,
Then
do it before the board in the next 10 or 20 years, the better.
Yeah. If we can pick the low hanging fruit and get rid of a bunch of it in one fell swoop, makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah. Shirley, you have a question, comment?
Yeah, so during this process, I think we really have to have serious discussions with conservation to make sure we're not getting rid of potential future trail connections that then we won't have to ask landowners for easements because we already own them. So I think that everybody needs to be at the table for this discussion.
I would agree with that.
I would hesitancy with that is if they've already been abandoned, all we're doing is signing off. It may be immaterial whether for that purpose, whether we can reestablish it for a county purpose, whether it's a road or a trail, if it's been abandoned previously.
Yeah.
So, it's a point that we probably need to explore, but I don't know that it's going to work that way. I'm just not sure that it would work that way.
So we talked about abandoned, vacated with title, vacated by prescription. So I mean,
There's no, it's either vacated or it isn't vacated. It's not by title, not by prescription. The issue is there are roads that we have acquired by easement and there's roads that we've acquired by deed. Vacating those roads, if you vacate it, it doesn't matter what the underlying ownership is because you're going to vacate it and assign, east half, west half to the adjoining property owners, or if it runs over one person's property, it's going to be vacated and assigned to that person. Abandoned means that we may or may not have a valid claim to it because we have not used it for an extended period of time. We haven't improved it. We had a case 20 years ago, Freeport probably, where there was an argument over, we were looking at, again, the lawsuit got filed arguing that the road that we wanted to vacate had been abandoned. That was the adjoining property owner. Another property owner wanted to build, as I recall, down below and wanted to keep that road open. So the issue was, had it been abandoned or hadn't it been abandoned? It turned on the fact that county employee, being a good Samaritan, dumped a half a load of excess gravel on the end of it so the property owner could get to his garage instead of riding through some potholes that were there. And the court of appeals, as I recall, said that's enough to take it out of abandoned property because the county had improved it. So there's some are very fact specific is what I'm telling you. And again, I'm going by memory 20 years ago. The details are a little hazy, but that was it.
So really two types of roads, either abandoned or
east. You either own it or you have easement for it. If the road is abandoned, I think the vacation process is very straightforward. It's never been improved. It hasn't been used. There isn't much standing for somebody to say, keep it open. Flip side of it is if you have a road that, it's been a Class C or it's, talking to the gentleman this morning, where there's some interest in privatizing it, it needs to be vacated, it hasn't been abandoned, it may generate some discussion from others. Does that make sense?
So do we, is the next action to direct the road department to try to determine from the 1856 map what possibilities we could approach in bulk?
I mean, if you'd like, I can stop over and talk to Mike and ask him that, I mean, it maybe is the initial, portion of it may be as simple as highlighting that map on what is not in our system.
He gave his last one away. He thought the guy was bringing it back. So I got one. I'll bring it in because he has one right at this point.
Anything else?
I think that's a good idea if you're more than willing to do that, Andy.
Do we need to move to direct the road department to do this? No.
I don't think you need a motion, as long as you have consensus and they start the process, it'll be
Nothing a public hearing anyway, so
Yeah.
when you round to settle that.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea.
Research.
Clean up your lunch. Yeah. Little stuff.
I have a question for Andy.
Fire away.
Okay, I didn't know if you could hear me. Andy, could you give us a reminder on some of the HIPAA requirements as far as sharing of personal details on injuries or names?
It's dependent on whether it is protected health information or not. So if it is something that comes into an individual by way of PHI, you cannot disclose it without a consent. If it's from a different source, there may be other reasons that it cannot be disclosed, ADA or otherwise. But HIPAA is primarily that it's a protected health information acquired through, example would be Ben's office from health insurance claims, for example. That's the HIPAA protection. ADA is a little different than that, that requires confidentiality regardless of source.
So I'd just like to keep us aware as a board that we shouldn't use names or give details about specific situations in each department. We need to be more careful about that.
That's always a good practice.
I have nothing further for you, Andy.
No.
All right.
Coming up with that RFQ for the engineer search firms, is that something we need to talk with Andy about, or is he involved with any of that?
Shirley just gave me her list of edits. I will incorporate those and get them sent off, and I think you probably should act on it
You want to,
Monday.
is there any interest in waiting at least till the end of next Monday would be 2 days before the deadline, the reapplication deadline?
You know, if you act on it on Monday, the action could be, if we do not have more than,
Certain number.
go ahead and send it out. Because you also have in here that you can accept or reject any or all. At least the ball is rolling if you need it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it'll be on Monday's agenda.
Next Monday.
All right.
Thank you. So then it looks like we have one last thing left. We need to set a public hearing for the transfer of property to the Fjelstuls.
Yeah, so this one here, it was probably just the ball got dropped with, it was something that, Lee Bierke started, and then in the spring, when they completed the project, this part never got set up. So it was a trade, there were a part of the road that we have, and then a part that was on private property to do a project this spring. And the idea was they were gonna let us use their private property while the project was taking place. And in exchange, after it was completed, we were gonna give them the road that we don't need anymore.
That's in
So,
Kelmer.
It is,
think it is.
I didn't look at the map, so I can't say for sure. It's Roger and Rita Fjelstuls. And it's 240th Avenue. And so there were lots A and B. They own B and we used that during the project, and we own A and don't need it anymore. So that was the trade, rather than us paying them for easement while we did the project for their lot B. And instead of us paying them, we were just gonna give them lot A afterwards. Andy had asked, did we ever get that deed filed? And I said, I don't think we've ever had the public hearing to give it to them. So that's where we're backing up to that point so that we can do that.
All right, what,
Now we got it set for the September 11th at 10 a.m.
someone like to make a
I would
motion?
make a motion to set a public hearing for September 11th and be
Second,
transferred.
We have a motion and a second. Set a public hearing for transfer of property to the Fjelstuls for September 11th at 10 o'clock. Is there any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
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 And it is a resolution.
Oh. This resolution, I'll get beat up on this one today. Shirley?
aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Aye also. Passes unanimously. Sorry.
Move to adjourn. Second.
We have a motion and a second for adjournment. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carried unanimously.
Oh, I did talk to Steve Johnson with historic